Hey everyone, I'm Gabriel. I'm an architect based in Singapore. You may know me from Logbook on Instagram last time. It's my first video of many videos where I'll be sharing about architecture practice, about a life as an architect, as well as my architecture journey from fresh grad all the way to now. So if you are an architecture graduate or a young practicing architect or somewhere in between where you're currently preparing for your architecture license exams, this video is for you. So this is part one of my architecture journey. In architecture school, I was in the Singapore University of Technology and Design, SUTD, Architecture and Sustainable Design course, also ASD for short. And when I was very young, I was trying to understand more about myself and what my interests are. And I realized that I liked the intersection of science and arts. It was at ASD that I was exposed to many different concepts, design concepts, practice concepts, as well as many different building design matrix that architects nowadays follow, and also history and theory of architecture. So in this stage of my architectural journey in school, the thing I wasn't clear and confident about was communicating my ideas and presenting them, and also working together with many teammates along the way. So the steps that I took was firstly to understand more about myself, and also to not hesitate to seek mentors' help, especially the profs in studio, peers at studio, and this sense of self-learning and also self-discovery led me to become more clear about my interests, my goals, and what really makes me tick. Therefore, it was a way for me to understand my working patterns, what routines I can take, where are my productive hours, and I take all of these understandings of myself and how I work to the practice. So moving on to part 2 of practice. When I graduated from Masters of Architecture in SUTD ASD, I wanted to explore working in a small firm again, as I was doing that in internship. The benefits of working in a small firm versus a big firm can be explained in another video. If you comment down below if you want me to explain more about the industry, how it works, and my thoughts about it. And yeah, working in a small firm has been pretty much a joy and a pain, right? And I realized that as a fresh grad, I would highly recommend to join a small firm, because you get thrown in so deep, you get in thrown left and right, and you need to figure out and how to swim yourself, and you have to know when to ask a question to your boss, or you know when to Google it, when to figure out yourself. And that could be daunting for some, but if you're able to get past that, I highly recommend that you take this opportunity to work at a small firm after you graduate. And you also, as a small firm, there's so many different people still, but it's such a small firm that you can actually talk to anybody, everybody in the whole office. You can, just throw a ball and somebody, and that's the architect that you need to ask a question, and you get the answer quickly. And everybody is doing different things, it's juggling everything. So that's the kind of job scope that an architect has to do, because when I realized after my first 2 years of architectural practice, I realized that is itself is an architect's role, because architects do everything from start to finish. So at Sembcorp Architects, which is a small firm as well, I worked on military projects, as well as had exposure to transport infrastructures like MRTs, and things like these are new to me, and I realized that I have to learn quickly. I'm so grateful for my clients, for my QPs, my architects, and my senior architectural designers, my technical staff, who were really guiding me along the way as I was a fresh grad entering into practice. So I was exposed to yet again, all the tender documents, all the contract documents, all of the drawings needed for authority submission, and also having to deal with new typologies like military army camps, air bases and stuff like that, as well as working with clients like for a longer period of time. As you know, as an intern, you only work at a firm for like about 2 months or 4 months, and working in a small firm after graduation where you are focused on building your career and really understanding how the industry works, that in itself is also a challenge. And I was also not clear and confident as at that point in time, as always. And I mean, something new will always be daunting. Something new will always be challenging. So what do I do to get to where I want to be? One of the many things that I did was to continue that spirit of self-discovery and self-learning, to also figure out what I don't know. And if I don't know, how can I know what I don't know? Funny as it sounds, that is the key of my success right now. And I realized that not being afraid to ask questions, not being afraid to take some time out of work to figure out things yourself versus practically asking everything to your boss, that also instills like this discipline in me and the curiosity to figure out things on my own. So during my stint at STEM Corp Architects, I've really gotten into the paces of the job and got used to all of the industry norms and standards and procedures. And I managed to follow through a project from feasibility all the way to almost TOP. And that in itself has been quite a wonderful journey. It was also during STEM Corp Architects when I realized that there are so many different contract models and types. I've worked in projects that are on the contractor side, which is design and build, and I've also worked on projects that are consultant for the client, and that has also been eye-opening in terms of how the work dynamics between client, consultant, and contractor is different for different contracts. It was also during this time that I started to log my journey. In Singapore, where we had to be a licensed architect, there are many stages to overcome. So the first stage was to definitely journal down my project experience, and because over the 2 years leading to the exam, you need to jot down and show the board of architects that you have experience from start to finish. And logging this journey also made me realize that I've learned quite a lot, and I highly recommend to start early because you have so much energy and when you're young, and also when you get older, you may not want to spend time outside of work. You may have commitments like family, you may have commitments like side hustles, So these kind of things could take a more important role over your licensure exams. During this phase of my practice and architecture journey, I've learned softwares like Revit and ArchiCAD and things like CoreNet, which is like the building authority submission portal, and things like I'm also using like PowerPoint most of the time to share ideas. Usually you don't use PowerPoint in school, but in practice you use PowerPoint a lot. I also touch on Excel when you use Excel to calculate things like GFA or areas. So that was a new exposure to me, and that was not something I expected, in school. So halfway through my practice journey, about 2.5 years, I felt really dying to try new things and also to go to a different firm. So I went to Sabana Jurong, where I was focusing on projects that were in the public residential industry, right? So in the Housing and Development Board in Singapore, we build to order flats, which means we are designing for and we are also making sure that the construction and the delivery of flats for these new home owners are met. So at this point, entering SJ, like Sabana Jurong, was quite smooth in a way because I have prior practice knowledge and I've also worked in small firms. And I understood the importance of multidisciplinary coordination, and that proved to be a new and eye-opening experience because at Sembcorp we were doing pretty small projects, yet still working with engineers and quantity surveyors. But when I went to SJ, that was a totally different thing because with so many different people involved. It was a wider job scope because designing for and also planning for an estate, right? Many multiple residential blocks with precincts, amenities. That also takes a lot of effort and a lot of time and design considerations that one may not understand. So when I first jumped into public residential projects, that was the thing that I was not clear and confident about, which is the new project typology. And again, what did I try to quickly get up to speed, right, was to quickly ask questions. I asked many questions to my mentor, my QP. I've asked questions to my seniors and also my peers if I'm not sure about things. And yeah, I think for 2 years in Sebenarnya Jurong until now, I realized that no matter where I go, no matter what I do, the thing that keeps me afloat, the thing that keeps me thriving in a sense is firstly to know myself and my limits, my interests, also to not be worried about what others think of me and my journey and the steps that I take to put myself out there. Understanding how all of these works, that really brought me to where I am today, in a position to share my knowledge and to share my experiences and learnings, such that if you are an architecture graduate or student or a young practicing future architect, right, who's looking to double down and to kind of thrive in this industry, which is not easy, and that's why I want to be here for you in any way possible to share practice knowledge, technical knowledge, lifestyle tips for an architect, and what an architect's job is like and what the life of an architect is. So in 2022, I took my architecture license exams, and it's like a 2 times 3 hour paper. Part 1 was more the technical side of things, and part 2 was more the contract side of things, right? And also the Architects Act and the Architects Rules and stuff like that. So that was the highlight, right? Preparing for the exam. So if you would like me to dive deep into that topic of PPE, professional practice exams, feel free to comment below and I would make a video about it. So moving on to part 3 of this video, I'm talking about milestones. Milestones along the way that I've realized, looking back, right, were pretty incredible. So one of the major milestones that I went was to finally have a project completed and occupied. That was a pretty wild experience, especially because one of the main contractors pulled out due to COVID and they were insolvent, and that was a pretty interesting journey, in my opinion, that we had to get a replacement contractor to do the balance of works, and we had to really rush the progress because it was already delayed due to the actual COVID, and the universal extension of time was given, but still the contractor was not able to finish and they went bankrupt. So that journey all the way to about early this year, like January 2023, was the highlight of my career currently. The second milestone of my architecture journey isn't really architecture per se, but it's my marriage to my wife, Esti. I met her about 2020 and I proposed to her on about 3 years later. And right now that was also a highlight of my architecture career because I could finally have a home, I have a family, a new family, right? And that is also a joy that has been a long time coming, that I feel truly blissful and happy to be where I am, and she supports me in whatever I'm doing right now for this channel as well, all the different initiatives I'm trying to do. ST is also in the healthcare industry, so that also really inspired me because we sometimes compare doctors to architects, right? She's a nurse, but that is still pretty similar in terms of the work pace, the intensity, the I need this to be done now because it's really important and the patient's life is at risk. So I've really inspired by her and her hard work and determination through the process. And as a husband of a healthcare worker, that is also challenging for me, especially these few years, but I try to organize my time, work when she's working, to take leave when she's taking on leave, and that in itself has been another highlight of my architecture journey / life. And last but not least, that last milestone is definitely getting my license as an architect. Truly a long journey, and I'm really privileged and happy to get the license. Although I don't have any immediate plans yet, but I'm looking forward to more opportunities, more collaborations, and more knowledge sharing and networking with future architects as well as current architects. Part 4 of this video will be about projects that I've done on the side, after work, on the weekends. So the first project that I've worked on was Art Logbook. Those fans or followers of my Instagram account, Art Logbook, it literally was stemmed from the professional practice exam PPE actual logbook, right? That is the Art Logbook, and that process of creating graphics to share my knowledge, to share technical stuff about the industry, materials and specifications, things like career guidance, that culminated into an Instagram account, really motivated me to share a bit more through different forms of media, like a podcast, sharing my ideas through video like now, through ebooks, through mentoring and things like that. And I look forward in 2024 to do more of these things because for the past few years, I'm sorry that I didn't make enough content, but I was pretty busy with like wedding, traveling around the world, taking a break, changing careers, and finally I'm able to set roots into where I am and to figure out how can I contribute and give value to you as a young and future architect. I was also involved in the alumni associations for SUTD ASD as well as the Young Architects League. One of the many key initiatives that I've done was to also set up the Telegram group for the young architects in Singapore, try to consolidate the resources like building codes and contracts in preparation of the licensure exams, and also to connect with the communities that in school or even in Singapore as general. And I've also had the privilege of working with the Singapore Institute of Architects, where we are currently working on the value articulation framework called VAF that helps to raise the awareness of the many different business costs, the many different value that we bring, tangible and non-tangible, and how we can recommend a certain proportion, but we don't really state how much you should charge as an architect to a client based on your services. And that is still a work in progress, and I'm pretty excited once the SIA shares this document. So at the point of this upload, I think the website is already up, my podcast is on the way, ebook is still there, my Archi Practice ebook, if you're interested, is an ebook that is compiled from my past content that is about like 400 pages of infographics of the architecture practice industry, ranging from material specifications to building codes to contracts to project management and stuff like that. If you're keen, I also will link the ebook below, and I look forward to sharing more content and more value and connecting with you, the young and future architect. And we need more of you guys. So press on and don't forget to subscribe. Just click the bell, I don't know, somewhere here.